Hey everybody, it's Dan Evans again here, and we're going to kick off Module 8, Entrepreneurship and Innovation. We're going to be talking a little bit about what is innovation, what's entrepreneurship, and what does it mean for business strategy. So let's get started right away, and we'll take a look at entrepreneurship and innovation. Okay, so as you know, we're currently navigating the strategic choices modules within strategy. We've spoken already about business strategy, and now we'd like to say a few words about entrepreneurship in general, which is the second module here in this series. We'll then move into corporate strategy, acquisitions, alliances, and international strategy. But for the moment, let's focus on entrepreneurship, and we're going to be looking particularly at strategic entrepreneurship and innovation. So how businesses, not only how businesses are started, but also how large businesses can use an entrepreneurial mindset to become more competitive. We'll focus a little bit on some issues about how to identify and seize opportunities. We'll look at some of the innovation dilemmas that companies often face. You'll find that companies often face many dilemmas about innovation. We'll mention only a few of them right now. There's a lot. And we'll also look at the innovator-imitate question that often comes up, and what ways incumbent firms are the firms that are already in the business, have been there for a while in the sector, how they innovate. What are some of the plays that incumbents can use and use innovation actually to gain a competitive advantage. So let's take a look at some of these key items here. So first, let's define strategic entrepreneurship. Strategic entrepreneurship combines strategy and entrepreneurship. So we're combining strategy and entrepreneurship. And we're including both advantage seeking, so seeking a way to get an advantage over our competitors, and opportunity seeking activities. So what does that mean? When we talk about advantage seeking activities, we're primarily talking about ways that we can probably improve what we're doing. So we're going to focus a lot on maybe new processes, new ways we can differentiate our product offering, how we can renew our organization, its skills, its resources, things like that. So we're looking at what we do, doing it a little bit differently, same types of products, same markets. Now, we can go beyond improvement and we can focus on seizing new opportunities through innovation. So we're going to get a leg up by grabbing new opportunities, become better than our competitors through these growth opportunities, through new products, through new customers and segments that we're going to discover in an entrepreneurial fashion. What is entrepreneurship is a big question, and we don't have time in this class to go into all the facets of what entrepreneurship is all about. I mean, it's a big subject. I want to point out some key points here about what is entrepreneurship, though. So it's a process which individuals, teams, or organizations, and individuals we'll see in a minute. Yes, okay, individuals play a key role in entrepreneurship, but most entrepreneurial successes are done in teams. It's pretty hard to do it by yourself. So it's a process by which individuals, teams, or organizations identify and exploit business opportunities. Now, the textbook does not include this word in the definition. I'm going to add it in because we're going to exploit opportunities that are business opportunities for new products or services that satisfy a need in the market. This is what entrepreneurship is. We're going after a need in the market. We've identified maybe what's called a gap in the market. There should be something there, but there isn't. And these entrepreneurial activities take the form of new ventures. You've probably heard of that. These are startups. They can take the form of social entrepreneurship, where we're starting up a company, but for some social benefit as well. Corporate venturing and entrepreneurship, where we're looking at how large organizations can behave in an entrepreneurial fashion. Large companies also spin off startups or spin in sometimes small companies. This is a practice we see in pharmaceutical companies where they're surrounded by some high-tech startups and they integrate them. Franchising is also a way we can behave like an entrepreneur. So if we look at this, what's interesting is that in France today, about 30% of people in general are involved with some sort of entrepreneurial activity. Some of them are project managers, some are entrepreneurs, some are past business leaders, but about roughly 1/3 of people are involved with some form of entrepreneurial endeavor. Now, before I mentioned to you this idea of being a business opportunity, okay? And what I want to really stress here is that there's a big difference between identifying maybe something people would love to have. I mean, maybe people would love to go walk on the moon, right? Okay, so I'm saying, hey, let's go walk on the moon. The question is, and this is really important, is can I make money doing it? Is it a business opportunity? Yes, maybe people want it. Well, no, I can't make money doing it, selling it at the price people are willing to pay and whatnot. So you need to have this business focus always on the opportunity when you're looking at opportunities and evaluating opportunities. Don't just think about what customers want. Now, the traditional way of being an entrepreneur, and I'll tell you why it's traditional in a moment. The traditional way is basically we start by recognizing an opportunity. We then assess the opportunity that we see. So, I see something, there's a potential opportunity to start a business. I'm going to assess it. I'm going to do a feasibility analysis. Can I make money doing it? Is there a market? Things like that. I'm going to do my business plan. So typically we'll build a business plan that includes marketing study, financials, 3-year financial study, sometimes 5 years forecast. I'll look at my human resources. I'll look at my organization. Basically, I'll study all the steps and all the parts of launching a company. And I create the business plan. Now, the business plan rarely comes true. I mean, it's basically proving to potential investors and to myself that I have a good idea of where we could be going. It's very, very, very rare that it plays out like in the business plan. In fact, I've never seen it play out the way it's written in a business plan. We then analyze the industry and the competitive environment, and that's part of the business plan. We see, just like in strategy, are there opportunities? Where's the power? What's competition like? What's the strategy? What's the business model? How are we going to create value and capture value? And then we go out and get funding and we finance our eventual endeavor. Now, 2 important points that I want to bring out in this traditional model are 2 points right here that come about here in the opportunity recognition phase. This is the opportunity search and discovery. Now I'm going to explain why it's called search and discovery, because we're also going to be literally seeking out opportunities and building opportunities. The word recognition is kind of wrong. I mean, it's done that way sometimes, but we often make opportunities. And a very important point right here is this decision to seize the opportunity. We can go through the assessment, whatever, but at some point comes this very, very hard decision to say, I'll do it. And another step that's often left out of these analyses is the intention stage. Now, intentions mean that this just doesn't happen by chance. People that behave in this entrepreneurial fashion have an intent. They are saying, I'm interested in doing something in an entrepreneurial way. And entrepreneurial endeavors start with this intention. in general, and this is what I was telling you before, it's usually not this nice, neat process, step A, step B, step C. It's very messy, especially in here, because the feasibility analysis actually includes business planning, analysis, business modeling, financing. It all kind of comes together in here. But it's not a neat process. Not everybody starts with a business plan. Not everybody goes to seek investment the same way. And in fact, we've seen the emergence of some pretty interesting ways to explain this. The first being what's called effectuation. And effectuation basically asks the question, what are people actually doing? Are they doing all this stuff, or are they doing something else? And the second would be lean startup. This is basically a way that we can build companies, learn from our mistakes, move on to the next step, but go really, really fast. And this is a process that some major corporations like GE, for example, uses a lean startup process to behave entrepreneurially inside the large organization. But also a lot of small startups behave this way. They start with something small, learn, etc. But we'll see what that is in just a moment. So it all starts in the top here with entrepreneurial intent, but most importantly, this idea of saying, ooh, there's an opportunity, let's seize it, or let's at least evaluate the opportunity. Now, opportunity recognition basically is a circumstance under which products and services can satisfy a need in the market. That's an opportunity. There's a gap. We can combine resources and capabilities, to seize an opportunity, something that, presents itself as an opportunity in the marketplace. Now, to do that, we have to assemble a lot of things. The first is the entrepreneur and or the team, meaning the skill and the will to go out and see these opportunities or build them. And a lot of skills are involved here. Alertness to what's going on in the environment, or awareness. Entrepreneurs are ready and able to deal with a lot of uncertainty. They're able to put off certainty, if you will. They can live with uncertainty for a long period of time. We have a certain risk-taking propensity amongst entrepreneurs. They may take risks differently than non-entrepreneurial people. Most people that are entrepreneurial in nature also have a need for achievement. They want to succeed at something. And as we learn over time, that entrepreneurs start up companies not for the money, but to prove that their idea works. Entrepreneurs have a strong internal locus of control. They believe that they can control their destiny. It's not the environment that controls them. They control the environment. Entrepreneurs have a high degree of self-efficacy. They believe that they can do it, that they can succeed. And they're hopefully very good at team leadership. Second thing we're going to see in entrepreneurs is that they're able to assess and combine and see trends and gaps. And trends and gaps assessment was part of what we did in pestle analysis. We need to identify the gaps that exist between what is and what could be. We're able to identify blue ocean opportunities by adding new success factors for customers, see something that other people aren't doing. And we do this also through building scenarios. And the last element of opportunity recognition. So we've got the people, we've got the situation, we've got the context, we have certain skills that we have. We can analyze the environment, identify gaps. Lastly, to actually go out and build what we're doing, what am I going to need? I'm going to need resources, and the word here sufficient is extremely important. A lot of times entrepreneurs have too many resources, and that can actually kill a project. I have access to resources. I either own them or I can use them or get access to them. I have a resource allocation process, so I can get the resources. And I have systems within a large company that support maybe the entrepreneurial behaviors in a company. Intrapreneurs, that should be intrapreneurs. And the systems could be, for example, how resources are allocated in a large organization. Hey, I've got an idea. I want to build up kind of like an internal startup in a company. Can I have time to do it? Can I have assistance from another division, etc.? And all of these things, these three things need to come together to make it work. So let's get back to the opportunities. And there's a really interesting question that's being asked about opportunities is, do we see opportunities or do we create them? And here's a simple example. I mean, if you're walking down the street and you go in front of a building, you see people hanging out, you may say, oh, here's an opportunity to, create a food truck. They're sitting around at lunchtime, they're meandering, walking around. In this example, this is a campus building that we have in Nantes, and I know for a fact that there's no restaurant nearby. So this is just kind of like an opportunity that just, is waiting to be seized, maybe. Or when you walk by a hotel and you see signs everywhere, no vacancy, no vacancy, start a hotel. I mean, this is kind of like staring you right in the eye. It's sitting there. It's telling you, hey, here's an opportunity. In reality, opportunities are not just seen like this, they're created. So this is the example I can give you, very simple. This is an electric car at a charging station in the city of Paris. And charging your electric car in downtown areas is pretty tough. And one of the problems we also have, people have, is finding a charging station, a free available charging station. And another problem is that once I park my car here to charge it up, I can just let it sit there. I mean, parking's hard to find in Paris, and what if I just park my car, let it charge, and let it charge for longer than I really need it? So we have some adverse effects going on. Well, this is a reality. This is a situation that exists. Now, I can combine that situation with other things I've seen in the marketplace. Something I've seen in a totally different market is the delivery of frozen food. And we have specially equipped trucks that wheel around and deliver frozen food to citizens, and they store them in their freezers. And so if you see this and you see this, you could say, hey, what about combining these concepts? What about, instead of delivering food, I deliver energy to all those people that live downtown that can't find a place to charge their car. And all these people are waiting to have something free up, these fixed stations. Why don't we just deliver electricity? And what I've done here is I've created this. This was not like staring me at the face. I've brought things together to say, maybe there's an opportunity. Can we deliver electricity to car owners wherever their car is as a service? So this basically combines two different points of view, and opportunities are seen or seized or created, seen or created in two different ways. We have what's called a cognitive point of view, okay? And this is kind of like the first example where we see patterns emerge. These are strong signals. I see the vacancy sign. I can easily connect the dots, and I can see the opportunity. Or we have a lot of ambiguity. We have a constructivist approach where I'm trying to make sense. I'm going to try things out. I'm going to build something, even though there's a lot of ambiguity and there's a lot of weak signals in the marketplace. Things that are out there, they don't make much sense. But it's not like flashing, hey, here's an opportunity. Now, a lot of things help me see these opportunities, and you've got a list of them. You've got, are we in a very competitive marketplace? Can I get information very easily about all this stuff? Is my organization encouraging me to look for opportunities, etc.? All of this stuff supports this opportunity, either seeing or building behavior. But in reality, opportunities are a combination of these two. You see it, but you also construct them based on what you can see. Now, what's interesting is that we can't all see the same thing. And entrepreneurs, I mentioned this before, entrepreneurs have certain types of behaviors and competencies, and some are better at seeing opportunities than others. They're very aware of their environment, they're challenging it, they're creative thinkers. What is interesting is that people that are so-called serial entrepreneurs, people who build up businesses, multiple businesses over time, if you take a look at the total number of businesses that these people have established or purchased over time. So I'm doing this more and more frequently. I start a company, I start a second company, I start a third company, a fourth company, a fifth, whatever. Well, these people see a lot of opportunities. They only seize 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. But what we do see is that as I create more and more companies, the number of opportunities at some point peaks. I can't see them as easily as I become experienced in starting up companies. And this tells us a lot about, the psychology of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship in general, is that we have a hard time seeing opportunities as our experience hits a certain point because we're biased. We start reflecting only on our past. Our past hinders our ability to see things differently. And the more experience we get, for these people, even these great entrepreneurs, they have a hard time overcoming or seeing past their own experiences. It's very interesting. But bear in mind that the ability to see opportunity requires that also you can somehow put your past or put a lot of stuff on hold. It's part of one of the key biases we have in the identification of opportunities. Peter Drucker, a while back, identified 7 basic ways to see an opportunity. He basically said, where are opportunities? And he mentioned a few of them, and I'm not going to go in detail on these, but basically when something unexpected happens. If you expect, for example, you launch a new product and you expect the sale to be really strong and it's not. Well, why wasn't it strong? And why did your market study not work? Well, maybe the market's not defined as you think it is. And if you redefine the market, maybe you'd find an opportunity. Incongruities are typical examples of places for opportunity. These are called persistent discrepancies as well. Incongruities are things that exist over a period of time and continue to exist, and we just can't explain why. Probably the best example I can think of today is why do we still see people that are blind walking with white canes? With all the technology we've got today, this still exists. Why do we, when we go shopping, do we put stuff in and out of carts like 5 times? We go shopping, put it in the cart, take it out of the cart, put it back in the cart, take it home, take it out, put it in the shelf. We do this, over and over and over. And now, stores have started to fix this discrepancy with self-scanning services and whatnot. But these are incongruities. These are things that just exist, and you're asking yourself, why do I continue to do this? These are opportunities. Process needs. So if we redefine a process, then we're going to have to, build something new. Structural changes in businesses, in the economy, new technologies, things like that. Demographic changes are obviously sources of opportunities. We see the silver economy, for example, emerging. We see people living longer. Well, these are opportunities just waiting to be seized. Changes in perception, moods, and meanings. What is a family? What's a vacation? What does it mean to have a good weekend? What's a good meal? As these change, as the definition of these basic things change, opportunities are created, and new knowledge, obviously. So we'll get back to the process. We've talked about opportunity recognition. Now we get into the assessment of the opportunity. We're going to say, hey, is it a business opportunity? Can I make money? And then we'll get into the business planning and modeling and definition of, well, okay, how we're going to create value and how we're going to finance our company, but also more importantly, how we're going to capture the value through a business model. So evaluation of an opportunity looks at a lot of things. First off, it's going to look at strategic fit. So, why did you start a company, or why do you want to innovate if you're a large company, and does it fit your current strategy? And as an individual, does it fit your career? I mean, entrepreneurship is not only the idea of starting up a company, it's a career choice. And does the opportunity that you found match with what you want to do with your career? Yeah, there's an opportunity to start up a automobile, a repair center. But do you want to be an automobile repair person? That's a personal question. Does it fit with what you want to be? Second, basic questions about the market. Does the market exist? Is it growing? And is there a first customer? And this is a real key question if you're going to go out and ask for financing for your startup. A lot of times banks or financier want to know, well, do you know who your first customer is going to be? And also, is it growing? Is the market growing market? It's tough to start up a business if your market's not growing sufficiently. Is there competition? How is it behaving? What's going to be the reaction of businesses in the market, if they're already in the market, when you join that market? Now, this is competition is not a bad thing. In fact, the existence of incumbents, the existence of a market where there are actual people playing in that market, may be an opportunity if they're all playing poorly. I mean, if you have a lot of companies supplying services to people and they're doing a really bad job, that's an opportunity. But bear in mind that they're going to respond when you come in. Is it financially viable? Can you make money doing it over the long haul? Can you support the investment phase when you start your company? Because usually we don't make profit in the first several years. Is the technology feasible? Does it exist? Is it stable? If you're a tech company, you're relying on certain technology, maybe it's still very, very uncertain. So you can maybe try starting your company, but if the tech norms change or the standards change, your company will be in bad shape. And most importantly, do we have the knowledge and the team to make it work? Do we have what it takes? And in fact, if you look at venture capitalists, so these are the people that finance large projects, okay? So projects that are in their, let's say after 2 or 3 years, they're going to get involved, unless you're an early stage investor. Big venture capitalists are going to be looking at projects, and their old motto is right here. It's, if you have a choice between an A team with a B project, it's better to do that than have a B team with an A project. Meaning the team is really what drives success in entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship and innovation starts with people, the entrepreneur, the innovator, and the resources, again, an adequate amount to make it happen. But we need people, and we have to make sure that we've got the skill and the will and the desire and the ability to make it happen. This is underscored here. This is a listing of where venture capitalists, what do they look at when they're choosing a project. And it's not surprising. Venture capitalists, one of the first questions they're going to ask is, does the entrepreneurial team have the ability to sustain effort over a long period of time? This is actually looking at the health of an entrepreneurial team. Will they be able to sustain the effort required to succeed over the time the company needs to really get their activity going? Also, second most important thing, do you understand the market? So knowledge, health, well-being, the team, the experience. Does somebody in the team have an intimate understanding of the market? Can we lead that team? Do we have the experience of leading a team? Do we make it work? And then down here, obviously, market growth, etc. But people play a key role in the success of any entrepreneurial endeavor. So we've gone through the evaluation, we've looked at it, now we get into the financing issue, and you can see that at different phases of an entrepreneurial endeavor, we're going to look at different types of financing. And each of these phases is also confronted with its own problems and difficulties. When we're in startup phase, which is down here, right? We're starting up our opportunity, starting up a company. Our key element here is getting financing capital to get going. Now, there are ways to solve this problem if it's a small need, but a lot of times we'll turn towards, for example, seed capital. We'll turn towards angel investors. These are people that maybe are that you know, or that are friends of the family, for example, that are, or maybe people with a lot of money that are ready to invest in your company. But money is very important. There's a lot of ways to finance, and surprisingly, a lot of companies start up on just credit cards. We go into the growth stage. So here we're going to be in a high growth period, and this is where venture capital is going to come in and say, "Woo, yeah, I'd like to be part of this." It's also a stage where you've gone past startup, you start building your company, you start growing the company, you start employing people, and that means that the entrepreneur that was probably doing a lot of it has to behave as a manager. And that's tough. It's tough to sometimes let go of doing the day-to-day part of, running the company to becoming a manager. They're two different things. And a lot of entrepreneurs fail at being a manager. We get then into maturity. So our company is growing. We've expanded. We come up here into the mature part. What's going to happen here? One of the challenges entrepreneurs face, obviously, is, well, to continue financing my company, I've got to probably go private. I got to get private equity, or I got to go public with an initial public offering. So I got to get some money. And the other thing that's going to be challenging here in this mature stage is keeping the energy alive. You've gone through what they call the go-go phase of the entrepreneurial endeavor. Suddenly it's like, well, business as usual. The ho-hum day-to-day operations of making money and trying to beat your competitors. Now, keeping the energy alive is really tough. And so what we often do and what we often see is the entrepreneurial leader suddenly starts a second generation of products. So they'll start looking and saying, "Oh, how can I use my entrepreneurial talent to grow the next cycle of my company up along another S curve?" And in some cases, we get up here, and the people who invested, also an important part here is the decline of the business. Founders can leave the business. They may say, "Hey, I want to go into a new adventure." Investors may leave. Investors that are in this stage also are looking at a way to get out of the investment they made. So hopefully an IPO, or they want to sell off their stock. But a whole bunch of questions are being asked at this end stage. And again, the entrepreneur will probably just move on to a next endeavor or grow the company through a new product offering. Now, effectuation is what I said before, is that sometimes it's not this clean, crisp, simple process. Effectuation basically asks the question, how do real entrepreneurs, small businesses start up? Often they start with a simple idea, and sometimes they start with no idea. And you start with what you have. That's the rule of thumb. You start with what you've got. What you've got is, you've got maybe some cash, a credit card, you've got your personality, you've got knowledge, you've got relations. And hey, you know what? We'll just start with what we've got. Second thing is we'll use the existing resources we've got. We usually don't start with a business plan. We build as we go. And this is true for a lot of startups. They don't have a detailed business plan. They start it, they build their product, they look at the reaction of the market, they adjust as they move along, and that's how it works. We use surprises as we're building and developing as a way to improve things. as we say in English, make lemonade from lemons. Every time something bad happens, well, what can we get out of it that's positive? It's rare that entrepreneurs that are practicing effectuation actually do a market study. They launch with what's called acceptable losses, meaning instead of saying what do I want to gain, we often start with this question: is what are we ready to lose? You want to start a company? Are you ready to lose, let's say, $50,000, $40,000 to try to see it and make it work? What are you ready to lose? That's the question that the entrepreneur will ask. And effectuation takes on this idea that you are actually controlling the future. A lot of market studies are saying, well, let's try to predict the future. Well, the reality is that the future is also designed and defined by your actions today. So effectuation focuses more on today's action than trying to predict something that's highly uncertain. Also, entrepreneurship is not a linear process, and innovation is not a linear process in many cases. And lean startup was done to respect this idea. Very simple. You've got an idea, you build it, and you create what's called a minimum viable product. It's the first version of your offer. It's a version of your offer that's acceptable in the marketplace, that people will pay for, but it probably doesn't include all the features that you really would like to include. But it's a way to test the idea. And so you'll start with a very simple product. You'll offer it to the marketplace. You'll see how they respond, and you'll test some of the hypotheses you've got about the market, about your product. So your product is kind of like a first version, if you will. So you test these with your minimum viable product. You see what the results are based on the results you get from the market. You measure the results. You learn from that, and you continue and you say, hey, our MVP was right on track. Off we go, and we continue, and we persevere, and we go on, and we start the second version and the third version, etc. We build in more features into our product as we move along. Or we can be in this learn stage down here and realize that, hey, you know what, we tested something and it didn't work out the way we thought. What we're going to do is we're going to pivot to a new approach. We're going to bring in a new idea because, hey, you know what, the market didn't respond to our first version the way we thought it would. So we start with a different version. We pivot away from our initial attempt and we modify it. And this is what's called lean startup. And it's really based on this idea of being ready to fail fast, to test, adjust, and continue quickly, or pivot if your product didn't work as you expected. And the last element here in entrepreneurship I want to bring out, and then we'll take a break and we'll go on to a second video, is the question of social entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship sometimes has a social objective, and this is termed social entrepreneurship. Real good examples. This man gives this is Jack Sim. I know this guy. He's a crazy man. He's the world's #2 man. He's Mr. Toilet. And Jack Sim operates the World Toilet Organization, and he started basically this organization to develop, to create toilets and make sure toilets are present in countries around the world, because one of the big problems we have today in health is that there are not sufficient amount of clean ways to go to the toilet because people don't have toilets. And so Jack Sim started the World Toilet Organization to address this issue, and this is a social entrepreneurship issue. Another good example is down here, Cabbages and Condoms. It's a company that runs a series of restaurants, and they're based in Bangkok. And these restaurants all have a condom theme. Condoms are given out at the end of the meal, not candy, for example. And the objective is to generate profit, maybe through the restaurant, and this money is used to buy condoms, distribute them, but also educate the population about the use of condoms to control population. Social entrepreneurship has a social mission, as you can see. A cooperative form of organization is quite common. If the market-based revenues, usually we have a double-sided business model where we have market revenue being generated, for example, here in the restaurant, the revenue is being used to address a social issue. Another good example of social entrepreneurship is base of the pyramid, or BOP type entrepreneurship. For example, we have a lot of people starting up very small businesses, unipersonal businesses, where women in Africa, for example, are weaving products, local products, and selling them. And these BOP type entrepreneurship endeavors are typically financed through microfunding or crowdfunding activities. But social entrepreneurship is a very important part of entrepreneurship. It exists today and continues to grow and address and use the entrepreneurial spirit to address some of the major social issues of our time. So we'll stop there, and you can pick up the rest of this in video number 2, and we'll continue on with innovation dilemmas and some of the moves that competitors can do in the area of innovation.